What's up, you guys? Welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. Today, in honor of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, we're going to be talking about the top 5 Scott Langs in Heroclix. So without further ado, let's get to the list. Alright, you guys, so starting us off at number 5 for Scott Lang Ant-Man is Ant-Man from the Civil War movie set. And man, I really love the detail on the movie set sculpts. They look just like the movie costumes, which I also love and are just so cool. So yeah, really awesome sculpt on all these ones. But taking a look at his card here, he starts off with an optional trait for plus 5 points, where he, when he would be targeted by a range attack, he can use Shape Change, so that gives him that extra layer of defense from ranged attacks. I do recommend putting that on him, because he does have super senses and tiny size, so it gives him, you know, all that extra layers of defense. It's really hard to hit him from range, basically. Then you've got another trait here that says, give Ant-Man a free action and choose a standard adjacent friendly character. That character can use the tiny size ability this turn, so that's great. You know, it lets them also get that +1 defense from range, lets them be carried by bigger characters that maybe don't have flight or something like that. So there's a lot of ways you could utilize that trait and help out your team. Then he also has this really cool special attack power that says when Ant-Man hits an opposing character, the hit character gains your choice of tiny size or giant size this turn. So again, that's really cool. There's a lot of ways to utilize that. If you hit somebody, you could choose to make them tiny size, and then the character behind them, you know, you'd be able to, you know, draw a line of fire over the tiny size character if you needed to see somebody behind them or something like that. Or if maybe you have friendly characters behind you that don't have some way of moving or something, you can make them giant and just make them easier to hit. And I do like that it's just this turn, so like they won't get giant size willpower on their next turn or giant reach or anything like that. They don't get any benefits, just the downsides of being more easily targetable by being giant, or, you know, if you need them out of the way, you can make them tiny. But lots of good options there. Then he's got some Outwit and Perplex later, but we can start by taking a look at his dial now. So he's got 6 movement with Sidestep, 10 attack with that special to change your opposing character's size, 17 with Super Senses. He's got 3 damage with Outwit, and yeah, so that's what I was talking about. He's got Super Senses, so giving him the Shape Change as well would be great. And yeah, then he just gets some more of the same. Then he gets some Incap, Combat Reflexes, Perplex, and then his stats do fall there on the last click. So just not a super long dial. He's coming in at 55 points. You could, you know, bump him up to 60 for that trait. And yeah, I just like him. He can change your opponent's sizes as you need. He can change your character's size to help you carry people around or give them that +1 defense or whatever. And yeah, he's really hard to hit from range, and he's just a really cool looking figure. So for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 5. All right, but coming in at number 4 for Scott Lang, we have the common from the Avengers, Black Panther, and the Illuminati set. I do like this suit. Looks really cool, straight out of the comics. Boom. And this one is similar to the last one at number 5, but he is much fewer points. He's only 30 points. He's got Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Spy, so he adds a keyword there. He's got a trait that gives him Shape Change, and once per force, when Ant-Man is KO'd, do not remove him from the game. Instead, after resolutions, place him in the square he last occupied on his starting click. He is now friendly to your opponent's force. So, he's only 30 points, but if your opponent KOs him, they are going to get him on their side. So as long as you plan for that and you kind of set yourself up, like if he takes a hit, you kind of got to be prepared that they might finish him off and you're going to have to turn around and hit him back. So you can't actually end up scoring an extra 30 points that way if you just plan for it. So it's kind of, you know, they might score 30 points for him, you can score 30 points back. And they could score 30 points for him again by knocking him out again, because it is once per force. So once you knock him out, it'll go back to you on click number 1 again. So this guy, you know, you have to fight him in the middle there, but he does kind of give you 2 full dials of his, you know, everything he does for 30 points. You just have to fight him. But he has improved movement for characters, which is great. But then he has a special attack power that says free. Choose an adjacent friendly standard character to gain tiny size until your next turn. So that is very similar to the last one we took a look at, being able to change your friendly character's sizes. Like I said, he's only 30 points. Tiny size, 8 movement sidestep, 10 attack, 17 defense, 3 damage. You know, you got the super senses and the shape change, so he's really annoying. The special damage power lets you change your friendly character sizes. So yeah, you basically just run up there, you know, tie people up a little bit, punch them, 10 attack, 3 damage, and you know, he's annoying to hit with the super senses shape change, and he can move around with the improved movement characters, so if you need to sidestep away for a moment, it's pretty easy. So anyway, he's similar to the number 5 pick for half the points, and for that reason, he's coming in at number 4. All right, coming in at number 3 for Scott Lang, we have the super rare from Avengers Defenders War. This is maybe one of the best sculpts for a Scott Lang AntMan we've ever had. Really cool, you know, just jumping up from tiny size, from an ant size there. So taking a look at what he can do here, he has got the Avengers, Defenders, Heroes for Hire, and Scientists keywords. Still has the improved movement for characters. This one's unique, you might notice, so you can only play one of him. But yeah, he's got AntMan can use sidestep and stealth, and when an adjacent opposing character is moved or placed, you may place AntMan adjacent to that character after actions resolve. So again, he's kind of an annoying tie-up piece, but he will stick with you. If you do break away and run off somewhere, he will just place himself right next to you again. You know, sidestep helps him move around if he needs to. Stealth, you know, of course, is always good to help keep him protected. Then he has a special damage power where he can use Perplex. When he does, if he targets an opposing character, that character can't target AntMan until your next turn, unless it's the only character on your force. So that's awesome. You just perplex down their attack or movement or defense or something, and they can't target him. And as long as he's, you know, just adjacent, they're basically just going to have to break away and try to charge and hit somebody else, which is he's just going to boom appear right next to him after they do. So yeah, he's pretty annoying to deal with. And unless you can just straight up outwit his Perplex or something. But for 80 points, he is a little expensive. He only has 5 clicks of health, but, you know, 18 super senses. He's got the stealth, precision strike, 10 attack, 3 damage. You know, he does have the sidestep to move around too. So, you know, he can just keep perplexing you down and hitting you with 10 attack, 3 damage with precision, and just kind of make you run away because you can't, you know, target him because he perplexed you, and then he just pops up right next to you again. So he's really annoying to deal with. But yeah, just 80 points is kind of a lot, in my opinion, for only 5 clicks. So if they do manage to outwit your Perplex, you know, they could also maybe outwit your super senses and just punch you and get him out of the way pretty quick. So he is very useful, but he eats up a little too many points for my taste. So for that reason, he's coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, an oldie but a goodie. This one is insane. I love this one so much from the Age of Apocalypse set. First of all, awesome sculpt of him shrinking down there to ant size. Honestly, at first I didn't even realize this was Scott Lang AntMan. I kind of looked through all the real names and found that it is Scott Lang AntMan. For some reason I thought this one was Hank Pym. I don't know why, but this one has Armor, Avengers, Defenders, Fantastic Four, and Scientist keywords. Then he's also got improved movement characters like we've seen on just about all the other AntMans so far. He also has a trait that says when an adjacent friendly character that shares a keyword with AntMan makes a ranged combat attack after resolutions, you can place AntMan adjacent to the target. So that right there is the whole reason he is number 2 on the list. Basically, you know, he's tiny size. You can just have somebody carry him with running shot and shoot somebody, and then you just place him adjacent to the target, and then he kind of locks them up in close combat. Or if you don't have to carry, then you could just, you know, shoot somebody with him, again, placing him next to them, and then he can just fight them right then and there. You know, as long as he's not carried, he can still make an attack. He would just be placed. And you can see that he starts with Outwit, so that is also very useful. You can just outwit their defense and punch them, 10 attack, 2 damage. He's got 8 movement with stealth, 18 with super senses. So not too bad there. He's pretty well defended, also with the tiny size. He is 65 points, however, so a little bit higher than some of the other AntMans here so far. But I think the trait to be placed adjacent after being, you know, if somebody else makes a range attack is just too cool. He does get some exploit weakness there, so he can still be dealing damage. And then finally on his last click, he drops to an 8 attack, which is pretty much the last time that he's maybe going to be useful. He's probably not useful by this last click with the 8. But yeah, he can still hit somebody and just lock him up and be annoying. And it's so thematic. You know, Hawkeye shooting the arrow with Ant-Man on it is so cool. So to be able to recreate that in Clix is great. And yeah, for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 2. So as always, before we get to our number 1 pick, we've got a few honorable mentions to take a look at. So starting us off here, we've got Giant Man Scott Lang, also from the Civil War movie set. So yeah, he looks amazing. I do wish they managed to make him a little bigger, because his sculpt nowadays, you know, now with the bigger sculpts, he kind of just looks like regular Ant-Man standing next to most characters. He did look pretty big back in the day, you know, they were a little bit smaller, but it would be nice to get a newer version of this guy that was a little bigger. But regardless, it's still great that we got a movie version of Giant Man Scott Lang. I do wish we would get a movie set of the new Ant-Man and Wasp movie coming out, but, you know, I guess we're not going to get one. Who knows? Maybe we'll see an Avengers set sometime. But regardless, Avengers keyword is his only keyword, unfortunately. He does have the +5 point trait to start with shape change for ranged attacks, which is great. He gets a special attack power later that you can give him a power action to make a close combat attack targeting all opposing characters within 2 squares in line of fire. Instead of normal damage, adjacent hit characters are dealt 3 damage, and non-adjacent hit targets are dealt 2 damage. So kind of like a giant quake that does more damage if you're actually right next to them. So we'll just take a quick look at his dial then, starting with charge, super strength, invulnerability. You know, basic stats though. Giant size is nice though. The new willpower rules for the giant size is great. And then he gets that special attack power here in the middle with close combat expert, so he will at least have an 11 attack to use that with. And yeah, then he goes up to an 11 with some Battle Fury and a 12 with some Battle Fury. So his last couple clicks, he kind of hulks out there. Would be nice if he had a little sidestep or something to keep moving, but the giant reach does at least give him some type of advantage there. Yeah, he just doesn't quite make the list because, you know, 75 to 80 points, kind of just your basic, you know, charge, super strength kind of guy. And if he started with that special, like, kind of quake thing as a close combat action instead of a power action, then maybe he could have made the list. But for that reason, he's an honorable mention. And the other one we have here is from the Future Foundation set. This guy actually is pretty good. He probably could make the list. I don't know. He's a little basic for my taste. He doesn't do anything cool like all the other ones do. He just simply he does have this one really good trait though, that once per turn you may re-roll an attack roll that has a 4. So you don't need range or line of fire, just once per turn. If you or your opponent rolled a 4 in your attack roll, you can just re-roll it. He can be literally in your starting area and you can re-roll your opponent's attack roll. Improved movement characters as well, always good to see. He does have fantastic 4-team ability and a super long dial for 75 points. I mean, for that reason alone, I almost put him on the list. He's definitely a very solid version of the character. He does only have fantastic 4 and scientist keywords. So it would have been nice to see, you know, maybe Avengers or something. But he does have stealth, poison, 19 defense, and 2 damage with leadership. So he can just run up there and just poison people. He's really hard to hit with 19, especially with tiny size and stealth and everything. And of course, leadership always helps out. But like I said, he takes a hit. He gets some sidestep, outwit, some super senses, shape change, and super senses. So he is really just annoying to hit the whole time. And he can poison and leadership, whatever. But I don't know. I guess I just mainly play Ant-Man's on Avengers teams, so I haven't actually used him yet, I think is the main thing. He is pretty solid. He could definitely be in the top 5, but for me personally, he's just an honorable mention for now. But that doesn't mean he's not pretty good for Scott Lang. But regardless of that, that's going to do it for our honorable mentions. And now on to our number 1 pick. All right, and shrinking his way down to the number 1 spot, we have the new Scott Lang Ant-Man from Avengers Forever. So here we go. Taking a quick look at his awesome sculpt here. He does have this very funny, he was tiny and he's like jumping and slowly growing bigger. I think they did a pretty good job of representing that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so taking a look at what he can do here, Why is he my number 1? Let's see, he's got Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova Corps, and Police keywords. He's got a special movement power that gives him stealth. When an adjacent character is given a move or power action, after resolutions, you may place Ant-Man adjacent to that character. So yeah, that guy right here, any adjacent character that could be friendly or opposing, so any character is given a move or power action, you can place them adjacent. So that basically means, they're going to use a power action if they use running shot, charge, hypersonic, anything like that. They're going to use a move action just to move. So it's really good if you're using somebody to carry your team around. Then he doesn't have to actually be carried. He can just place himself adjacent, and then he can still, make an attack or move or whatever you need to do with him. So that alone is awesome. The fact that he could kind of not be carried technically, but still be carried in a sense, and then do something is just super, super good. And it's similar to the number 3 pick that was, 80 points. That you can just place him adjacent after they move, and he can keep characters locked up. He's really annoying to deal with that way. And then, yeah, he's only 35 points, though. He does only have 4 clicks, but I think well worth it for just the 35 points. His full dial is 10 attack, precision strike, 2 damage, outwit, so he can always hurt you. He's got 18 super senses and tiny size, along with the stealth. So he is really hard to hit. He does have Guardians of the Galaxy TA, which is actually pretty good, so they can't lower his stats at all. And yeah, I mean, for 35 points, it's simple but extremely, extremely effective. Like I said, you could just, move your whole team up with somebody like, Scarlet Witch, or somebody that can move really far with like phasing and carry people. And he can just place himself adjacent. He can outwit, punch for 10 attack, 2 damage, even after such a long, being carried like 12 squares or something crazy. Yeah, and then, like I said, if an opposing character moves, you can place him adjacent to them. Anyway, yeah, he's really, really awesome. Only 35 points. I think by far the best Scotland AntMan we've seen yet. So for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 1. Alright, you guys, so that does it for this list. As always, make sure to let me know in the comments who your favorite Scotland AntMans are, and who you would like to see on a future top 5 list. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button. It does help me out a lot. And don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. And if you guys would like to help support the channel even more, make sure to check the links in the description for our Patreon, so you can see your name here on the credits with all these other awesome supporters. And for as little as $1 a month, you can also be entered to win our Patreon giveaways every month. So make sure to check that out. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.